proven technologies of consciousness that create peace not just for the individual but for the whole world. Wars begin in the minds of men. Hence, it is the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. This is the first sentence to the preamble of UNESCO's constitution. And this reminds me of the words of our founder, His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who called out the role of India to be Jagat Guru Bharat, to be the guiding light for the whole world to live in peace and harmony. His teachings are not just a philosophy, but a practical way to adopt these Vedic technologies that come from India, that have the power to create lasting peace in the world family of nations. There has been enough scientific evidence over the last 5 decades proving that the root cause solution to all conflicts lies in the Vedic technologies of India. This is why our speakers today are scientists. They understand how these technologies work, the depth of research behind it, and the mechanism of establishing a sustained state of peace for the whole world for less cost than 1 day of war. So with this, I would like to share with you the sequence of today's events. First, we will hear from the chairman of the Global Union of Scientists for Peace, Dr. Tony Nader. Dr. Nader will give us an overview of the Assembly of 10,000 for World Peace. He will explain in more detail the purpose and program of the Assembly and who will be attending. Next, we will have a 7-minute video especially made for this press conference by Dr. John Hagelin, a world-famous expert in quantum field theory and astrophysics. He will describe the extraordinary results of 2 past assemblies and will tell us how the technologies of consciousness work to create world peace. Then, using the equipment you see here on this stage, Dr. Fred Travis will demonstrate how the transcendental meditation technique creates powerful coherence and orderliness in the brain. Dr. Travis will describe how this coherence spreads from the individual to the environment to create peace everywhere, even for those people who are not meditating. After this demonstration, we will welcome our panel, another expert, Dr. Ashley Deans, and we will open the floor for questions. Then we will adjourn for lunch, which will be in the adjacent room.
Absence of body sense. The experience of this field is a part of us that is outside of time. It's eternal. It's a part of us that's beyond the body. It's a part of us that pervades the universe. And this is a felt experience. And because it's a felt experience, we can see it in the brain. The brain I see is the interface. And by looking at changes in brain function, we get an indication of what's happening in consciousness. What we have here is the bottom is the time. We see that there's 10 columns, 10 seconds. The right side are 32 different points on the scale. And what we're seeing here is, this is the mind caught up in thinking. Notice what the brain waves are like. What's happening is they're very low frequency, they're very low amplitude, the frequency is very fast, different parts of the brain are doing different things. Here we have the brain in the process of transcending. Notice how it's fundamentally different. First, the frequency of the brain waves are very slow. You can actually see them going up and down. And if we count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9 cycle per second wave. Notice we see this wave in all of the lines. That's all the points on the scalp that are being measured. The whole brain is settling to its ground state. And this is what the brain is doing when we're experiencing this inner field of consciousness. Also notice that the rising and falling of each wave is going together. This is called coherence. And what coherence is giving us is a picture of how the brain is connected. Usually when we're seeing the world, localized areas are coherent. The process of experiencing the field of consciousness, the whole brain is just settled into its ground state. It's a holistic functioning of the brain that supports that holistic value of consciousness. And it's actually given the name coherence when we see the brain going up and down together. So let's see this in real life. We have with us today Bhavani Garoti. She's visiting her family in Delhi. She agreed to demonstrate her brain waves for us. And our tech people will change the screen so actually see her brain wave. This is a equipment which Bernard Marcus has created. And what we see here, thank you Bernard, what we see here are our 3 columns of data. The top one is what's happening in the left and right side of our brain at this moment. The bottom one is the coherence. We're looking at the front of the brain because the front of the brain is what directs the rest of brain function. So these large spikes that you see here, these are eye blinks. The reason it's so high is coming from the eye muscles. In between here, each column is a second. You're seeing very fast EEG. That's what the brain waves looks like when 150 people are looking at you. And the bottom line is coherence. Notice sometimes this line is at the top, sometimes this line is at the bottom. When the line is at the top, it means that the left and right side of our brain is more holistically functioning. When we see at the bottom, it means that the left and right sides are doing different things. And it's okay that it's fluctuating. This is a healthy brain, because with eyes open, different processes have to happen. And so the brain comes together for a moment, breaks apart, comes together again, and breaks apart. So this is looking at eyes open. So now, Bhavani, you can close your eyes, begin your TM practice. This is alpha activity. There's the coherence at the top. Thank you, Bhavani. Now you can stop your meditation practice. Open your eyes when you're comfortable. Notice as our eyes are opening, you see the coherence now becomes very variable. Thank you. Let's go back and just to see that difference. So look again at the eyes open. That is great, Bobby. You can sit there for a little more. So again, in the eyes open, what is the state of the brain? The state of the brain is different parts of the brain are functioning separately. It's fragmented processing. And we saw that in terms of the actual frequency of the brainwave is very fast. We see the coherence is going up and down. And again, this is normally what's happening, and for people who don't meditate, that's what their brain is constantly doing. It's one substate after another. So Bernard, if you go to where she begins her TM practice, and Bhavani, you can see her brain when she's meditating. Notice the first thing. Notice this transition in brainwaves. It's really a change in state. It's like a switch going on. And the switch is from attention going out to looking at the people, looking at you, to attention going in and just transcending. And giving the brain that state allows that state to begin to be seen more and more in daily activity. Thank you very much, Bob.
Ask about the extraordinary results of this experiment and of another experiment the Maharishi effect is creating. And he will explain also the Maharishi effect to you. And please go ahead and play the video recording.
The brain-based approach to peace, or consciousness-based approach to peace, has been endorsed and embraced by the Global Union of Scientists for Peace as the most effective nonviolent means of conflict resolution. According to scholars in the field of conflict, the first stage in the emergence of war is mounting tensions among rival factions in critical hotspots around the world, such as the Middle East. If these tensions continue to mount unchecked, they inevitably erupt as social violence, terrorism, and war. What has been the normal approach of dealing with this issue? Well, we can try to reduce the stress, reduce the tensions. That means eliminating factors like poverty, oppression, injustice, hatred, bigotry. We all know that's not easy. Alternatively, we can reduce the stress. And there are powerful techniques, especially the Transcendental Meditation program, as brought by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, is a very powerful stress buster. TM markedly reduces individual and societal stress. The Pentagon uses Transcendental Meditation. The Veterans Administration in the U.S. uses Transcendental Meditation to reduce the acute stress of post-traumatic stress disorder. And reduction of stress also leads to reduced crime and antisocial behavior. In this regard, TM works. More interesting, group practice of Transcendental Meditation and its advanced techniques, the TM-Sidhi program, reduces stress on a societal scale. I'm going to show two quick experiments which are quite important in this field. Firstly, in Washington, D.C., the National Demonstration Project took place in 1993, and 4,000 volunteers gathered from across the world and across the U.S. to practice their TM and advanced programs in a group.
So, Maharishi was very clear and inspiring to all the scientists to subject in every possible way the knowledge and science of consciousness from the Vedic tradition to rigorous scientific study and scientific understanding. And that's how today we have actually spirituality as a science, consciousness as a science, and the technologies that improve human consciousness for the individual and for society as a true science of life, demonstrated in its effectiveness and its in theoretical understanding. So our discussions today, to simplify it, will be on two general categories, two general levels, which I like you to keep in mind. One is, does it work? And two, how does it work? Because these are the things that scientists want to know. You do something, does it work or it doesn't work? Once you know it works, then you want to understand how is it possible that it works. And in any scientific framework or scientific theory, these are the two things that scientists look for. The effect in the lab or in the human lab or whatever level of demonstration we are doing, and then how is it possible that it could work. Particularly in our case, where we are talking about something that on the surface level is intangible, which is consciousness. Because when we say we are looking at objects, we are looking at different aspects of reality, we see them through our senses, and we are sure everything exists as it is, as our senses show them to us. We see the sun rising in the sky, from the east goes to the west, we say the sun moves in the sky. Now, when you look deeper, you can find a different reality. And for centuries and millennia, it was thought that the sun moves in the sky, that the earth is flat and is not moving. And then, based on different thinking and analysis, it was discovered that actually it's the earth that's rotating around its axis that creates the sense of movement of the sun in the sky. And therefore, it was obvious for the scientists at that time that the sun is actually the center of the solar system, and the earth is rotating around it, and the earth is rotating around its axis, and that's what happens. That is fine, and that's fine that at the beginning there was a resistance against believing that actually the earth is not flat and it's rotating, because at the beginning one has doubts about it. what is really incredible is that it took 300 years after those descriptions before actually it became commonly accepted that it's the Earth rotating around its axis rather than the sun moving in the sky. So new discoveries can take a while in order for them to be accepted when they are different from what our senses see, what our senses feel. So our senses and our habit of believing that all that there is material life, is energy and physical existence and object is all there is, and that out of this comes suddenly something we call consciousness, which we experience as humans, is a very entrenched kind of feeling and belief in human tradition, culture, and society. That is to say, in modern kind of thinking and scientific thinking. Fortunately, the Vedic tradition has a different understanding of reality, and that is that ultimately consciousness is primary, and it is consciousness and its dynamics that lead to the experience and presence of the physical world. It's very hard to make the connection, because how could it be if consciousness is a field, that field appears as physical matter? Well, this is what we would like to consider with you, and if we don't answer these questions profoundly, we'll be happy to discuss them more in discussions and questions and answers. Suffice it to say that our primary understanding is that consciousness is a field, which means it is non-local, in the same way as, for example, an electromagnetic field or a gravitational field is non-local. It's something that is not limited in space. You know, the Earth exerts its gravitational field, the sun, the